this is what we need more of. And one of the first things you came and said to me when we connected after I stepped off that stage, you said, we need more women doing what you just did up there. And I 100% agree. And that's why it's one of my biggest honors to be a part of something like this. And I'm so grateful that you've created this platform, because this is how we show other women what's possible for them. And, if we were to go back and tie it all into sales, you sold me on being on your podcast. There was no transaction, but how did you sell me? Because right off the bat, you showed me that you knew me. We had this connection around the idea of empowering women. You saw what you saw on stage when I was speaking, and you connected with it, and you said, yes, and I want you on my platform because more women need to experience this. So the more we all recognize that and help each other and reach back and go, hey, I want to help you too, the more we all start to see opportunities and step out from underneath some of these limitations that have held us back for a very long time.
Hello, amigos. It's Celeste Leon, and welcome back to the Light to Success podcast, a place where we can discuss how to strengthen our mindset, increase our confidence, and maintain a high level of motivation to reach the next level of success in our lives. So, let's get started.
Welcome back, friends, to the Light to Success podcast. Today, I want to introduce you to a female powerhouse. Her name is Nicole Cramer. She is a high vibe sales coach for female health and wellness entrepreneurs. She is the CEO of her multi-six-figure company, Healthy Steps with Nicole, who aims to make the world a healthier place through ethical and empowered selling and serving. So she helps people sell their services without feeling salesy or pushy and get over their fear of the money conversation. So welcome to the show, Nicole, and thank you for being my first guest in the Women's History Month series of the podcast.
Thank you so much, Celeste. It is an honor to be here with you, and especially to be a part of this women's focused section of the podcast. So thank you.
Absolutely. My pleasure. So, Nicole, I've seen a little bit of your background, and prior to the amazing work that you're doing now, you were actually a math teacher for 15 plus years. So you probably have so much experience with dealing with different kinds of people. So what made you make the jump into the industry that you are now?
It's funny because I think life, no matter what we have planned in our minds, can take us in a lot of different directions that we didn't anticipate. And I did spend 15 years as a high school teacher, and I loved it, and it was wonderful. And then I had gotten to a point where I wanted to challenge myself. There is a strong competition drive that I've always had. I played basketball in college, like I've been a lifelong athlete, and I had this desire to challenge myself, and sales sounded like a game. It sounded like something that I could chase the carrot and win prizes. And I thought, sign me up. The competitor in me was all about it. And I was a little scared, or a lot scared, because I didn't have experience, but I had a lot of friends in sales. And every time they talked about it, I thought, this sounds like something I would really, really enjoy. So after 15 years, I decided to make the jump. And to anybody who's ever switched careers, you know exactly how that feels. It is one of the scariest things you can do. It's very bittersweet, and it's one of the most amazing things, in my opinion, that you can do. So I decided to jump right in, and I did.
I love that. I love that. And also that's a reminder for everyone out there that everybody's making different career switches throughout their life. Back in the day, I think it used to be like, pick this career, you're doing that for the rest of your life, and that's all you can do. You stay in that. But now we can do new things. It doesn't matter how old you are, where you are. And I think you're such a great example because you made the switch. I'm sure it was very scary initially, just like anybody doing something new. But now you're very successful at what you're doing, and you're helping so many people. Something else that I didn't share before to those listening is that I actually met Nicole in person at an event here in Nashville where she spoke about to a big audience on her biggest sales tips and secrets. And it was so insightful. You definitely, I think, stood out to me from other sales presentations I've heard before, which is why I wanted her to come on the podcast and share more. So, Nicole, why don't we demystify sales? Because most people perhaps think of sales as I have to sell a product, I'm selling you something as a pair of sneakers, and that's sales. However, I've learned that sales is actually something we're doing every day. And in so many ways, it doesn't necessarily have to have a monetary component, right? It could be ideas or different things. So, can you give me some more examples of how you see sales in everyday life?
Yes. I'll give you a great example. I told you I was a teacher. And Celeste, I believe you even heard this story when I shared it from stage. I didn't think that I had ever sold anything. When I was thinking about going into sales, when I had friends that were in sales, I thought there was this skill set, and there are skills that we need to learn, right, to be better salespeople. But I thought that there was this skill that I was going to have to learn that would lead to the transaction, right? And I was nervous about going on my first sales job interview. So here I am as a teacher with a resume that just says teacher. And I studied for my interview. I studied sales stuff, right? Talked to all my friends that were in sales and went into the interview and did a great job in the interview. And as a matter of fact, the guy who was interviewing me even said, I'm going to be honest, I'm pleasantly surprised. You knocked this out of the park. Now, let me just share this real quick. I think the guy was doing a favor in interviewing me. One of my friends thought I'd be really good in sales, so he asked his boss to interview me. So I think the guy really was pleasantly surprised because he didn't think much of it. He's like, okay, yeah, I'll interview this teacher who's, your friend. And he said, I'm pleasantly surprised. You really knocked this out of the park. I said, thanks. And he said, but I'm going to have a hard time hiring you over the 89 internal people who want this position because your resume just says teacher. You've never sold anything. And I sat there, and that's exactly the thing I was so afraid he was going to say. And he was right until I said, well, I've been selling high school math for 15 years and nobody wanted to buy that. And he goes, oh my gosh, you're right. That's good. Those teenagers didn't want to buy math. I said, you're darn right they didn't. And he said, that's really good. You know what? Will you write up a 30, 60, 90-day business plan? I said, I sure will. He said, will you go on a ride along with one of my guys? I said, absolutely. Now, I tell that story, Celeste, because to me, it really captures what you mentioned, which is, what is sales actually? It's a relationship. There was no transaction in that classroom, right? Those kids weren't paying me, but what was I doing to get them to want to do math? The very thing that they really could have cared less about, but what they wanted was to graduate high school. What they wanted was their freedom to get out of high school. And in order to do that, they had some math requirements that they had to meet. And in that moment, in that interview, that line got me on to the next round. Since that moment, that very line has helped me understand and helped me share from stages and share with my clients that sales is a relationship. All of it is relational. It's not transactional. And to your point, Celeste, I think a lot of people do think, wow, I've got to sell this product or I've got to sell this service, and it's a transaction. But the transaction is just the byproduct of you actually investing in building the relationship with the person that you're looking to help. And that's what it really is. Selling is serving.
Oh, that's amazing. I love the way that you're positioning that and phrasing that to sales is a relationship, because it really makes like this mindset shift, right? So if someone is starting a business, whatever it may be, right? Their goal is, okay, I need to sell, maybe they have a quota. Maybe they need to sell 10 items that month. So they're going straight to the conversation to sell. Now you're saying sales is a relationship and you need to invest time. So what does that look like when you're forming those relationships? Because you want to be authentic, but you also want to make the sale, right? How do you balance those things?
Such a great question, because the last thing we ever really want to do is get caught selling. Right? Now, wait a minute, Nick, what are you saying? We don't want to get caught selling. We're business owners. We've got to make sales. We've got to bring in revenue, right? But we don't want to just make the quota just to make the quota. Like I said, selling is serving. It's really about building relationships with people and helping them solve a problem. So the first goal of any business owner is to really connect with, what is the problem I solve? And who has that problem? Because the last thing we want to do is sell ice to a polar bear. Polar bear doesn't need ice, right? And if we're trying to use tactics and strategies just to generate a sale, but we're not actually putting time and intention and really consulting with the person if they actually need it, then we're really making it about us. We're making it about our goal. And so if you do have, let's say, like you said, 10 things to sell, who are 10 people actually who are 100 or 200 or 300 people that have the problem or the challenge that thing helps them with? That's your number one goal. Where can I get in front of people who can benefit from the solution that I have? Because the tough thing is we've got 8 billion people on this planet and not all of them need your stuff. And when I say the tough thing, it's
That's
tough
true.
for us to remember because we want to help everybody, right? But not everybody needs or wants what we're selling. So where can we position ourselves in front of the most people that we can at any given moment, whether that's virtually or in real life, who can benefit from our solution? And how can we start to get curious and get to know them and build relationships with them? Because what we ultimately want is for them to step towards our solution, for us to be able to say, come with me, not look at me, right? For us to be able to say, hey, I'm not sure if it's for you, but I might have something that could help you if X, Y, and Z happens to be a challenge for you. So that's really the goal. Where do I get in front of people? I've got to be in touch with the problem that I solve for people. And I've got to know who has that problem. And then that is what will direct me so that I know where to go to get in front of the types of people who are struggling with that problem.
I love that. That's amazing, Nicole. Thank you for sharing that perspective and that goes back to what you said of selling is serving. You're not here to be pushy. You're here to identify, do you have this problem? Because if you do, here's where I can step in. And if you don't, then I can still be a friend or a resource to you going forward.
Yeah.
But I think perhaps maybe what a lot of people do is they're not too interested in building that relationship outside of that sale. And that's probably important. And for you to identify if this is someone you would want in your life more long term, right?
Right. And when they're focused on just trying to make a sale, who are they making it about? Them. When they're truly consulting and building a rapport with somebody, they are creating an opportunity for that person to recognize that they may need that thing, because it can't be our idea. Nobody wants to be told what to do, and nobody wants to be sold.
That's true.
But everybody loves to buy. Everybody loves to buy. And the goal in the sales process is to make it that person's decision, to make them realize or to help them realize this is a problem worth their attention. This is a problem worth looking at. This is a problem that I need some support with, or I want some support with. And I think that's one of the biggest pieces too. People are like, ooh, I see you have that problem. I can help you with that. Well, if we're walking around telling people that we've got their solution, they're going to tell us why they don't have the problem. But if we take the time to get to know them, and we can show them that we understand them, they're going to trust us with a solution to that problem. Very, very big difference there, right? If we're trying to tell people, I can help you, there's nothing wrong with helping people, and there's nothing wrong with saying you can help, but we've got to decide and help them decide, do they want the help, right? Yes. Not, hey, I've got something that could help you with that. Hey, I noticed that's a challenge, or you've mentioned this is something that you're struggling with right now. Would you like some support with that? Or do you have some direction on where you want to go from here? Oh, I've got some direction. I've got it figured out, right? And maybe they don't need or want help. But ultimately, if somebody's open to support, let's discover that first before we try to give our solution to them. Let's find out if they're even open to it.
Absolutely. I love that. Something else you brought up, I remember during your speech, was the power of questions. I think so many companies, so many people, when they're doing their sales pitches, right? They're the ones talking most of the time. So they're just telling me all about them, but they're not spending the time figuring out who I am or if I need their service, as you said. So what would be some of those top questions that you would recommend people to use so that they're not doing all the talking and they can get that client or that prospect going first?
Well, one of the very first questions, let's say you're in a sales conversation with somebody, or in a conversation with someone who has given you any level of time and attention, because the most valuable thing anybody can pay us with is their time and attention. So whether it's a setup sales conversation that you've agreed to have with them, or you're just having a conversation with them, ask first, what will make our time here a success for you? What will make our conversation helpful and important for you? How can I be a resource for you in this conversation? Find out why they're there. Right? You might be there because you genuinely feel that your solution could benefit them. And that's a beautiful thing. There is nothing wrong. Selling is serving. There is nothing wrong with us wanting to create an opportunity or potentially seeing an opportunity where we might be able to help somebody. Right? Because the worst thing we could do is not offer our help to somebody who may very well need it. But when we just go in and it's our agenda that we're serving, and we haven't bothered to ask why that person has given us their time, then we really are making it about us, right? A lot of times people are like, I feel salesy, I feel pushy. Well, did you stay curious long enough to understand why that person may have wanted to be in the conversation? Because if not, it shouldn't be any surprise that you felt salesy and pushy, because you were there to serve your agenda without actually asking why the other person is giving you their time. So that's one of the most powerful questions we can ask in a sales conversation. Let me share with you, or let me help you understand, how our time here will go. And I'm also curious to know what will make our time a success for you. Find that out.
That's so
Find
true.
out what their goal is in that conversation, why they're there.
Yeah, that's so true. That's such a good point. And even that makes me think about how initially why someone was attracted to you wasn't even what you're going to sell them. Maybe they are attracted to you because I was able to relate to another part of your life, right? So giving them that opportunity to connect and ask questions to
Yeah.
what they may be interested in. And then you sharing, hey, if you're having this struggle, I can help you as well.
Exactly. Yeah. If you're having that struggle, is that something that you would be open to getting support with? Yes. Great. I'd, be happy to share with you. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have, right? Let's find out if they want that support yet, if they're open to it. But before we even get there, one of the, like you said, Celeste, one of the most valuable things we can do is ask enough questions to even get us to that point of asking if they want support. How do we know what they want support with if we haven't asked questions around it? So some of the questions we want to know is, what is your experience with this challenge? And I'll just use this challenge because whoever's listening, we all do different, we sell different things, services, products, whatever it is. So fill in the blank with your challenge, your pain point that you solve, right? What is your experience with this challenge? How long have you felt this challenge or been experiencing this challenge? What do you understand about how to navigate this challenge on your own? And how has that been going for you? How certain are you that this is a challenge you even need to give your attention to right now? I like to ask questions on the other end of it too. Like, is this even something that you need to look into, right? Is this something that you actually need to spend some time working on right now? I like to kind of go for no and find out, why are we in this conversation, And so find out, what has their experience been? What do they understand about how to do this on their own? How certain are they that they're going to be able to figure it out on their own if they keep doing it on their own? How important is it for you to do something about this challenge? These are all questions to find out, what's the challenge been like and how has it been up to this point? And how important is it to you to do something about it? And those are really important context gathering questions, because not only are you hearing their answer, but they're hearing their answer.
Yes.
And when somebody's sharing with you all the reasons why this challenge has been a challenge for them, why they haven't been able to figure it out yet, they're hearing just as much as you are why this may be something that they want to do something about. And when we gather that context, not only are we hearing it and they're hearing it, but it helps us become even more relatable to them. Now we can show that we get them. We know them. We've been through that same experience. We've helped people like them, right? That's the relatability piece that helps us build empathy. And when we stay curious and we gather that context, and then we help them see that we know them, we get them, we understand them, what we're doing is building trust. We're building trust in that conversation. And that goes back to what we've been saying. This is all a relationship game. That's all it is. And when we build that trust, when they start to trust us, trust doesn't happen overnight. It happens over time. So it's not like in one conversation, you're just going to necessarily build trust with somebody and they're going to be like, okay, here you go. I want your solution. But when we ask questions and stay curious, we're showing them that we care and we're gathering context. so that when it does come time for you to make a recommendation, to ask if they want support with something, you now get to say one of the most powerful things ever. And you never want to make a recommendation unless you can say this. Because of the fact that you said X, I would recommend Y. Now you're not telling somebody what to do. You're making a suggestion based on something that they said. And if you took the time to ask those questions and to listen when they responded and to gather that context, then you are using their words to make a recommendation that may very well help them. And nobody can argue with their words.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. And I love how you're making it, there's this more emotional aspect of relationship building, of making someone feel seen, heard, and understood, right? Those are the basics of relationship building, as you said. So sales is a relationship.
Yep.
So my next question would be, what is a great relationship based on? You said trust. Right? Even if we think about it like outside sales, just anybody who you would want to be have in your life, right? So trust would be one of them. What else would you say?
I would say somebody that you can depend on, right? Because trust is something that not only can you trust them in sharing what you're sharing, but you can trust them to show up when they say that they're going to show up, or email you when they say that they're going to email you, right? So what are the other ways that you can show dependency, not dependency like they depend on you, but like that you are dependable, I guess is the word that I would use. I think another really important one, which is what leads to trust, I've mentioned it a few times, empathy. Empathy, I love this definition of it. There's a man named John Acuff. He's actually a Nashville resident, and he's a speaker and an author. And his definition of empathy is caring about what the people you care about care about. I'll say it again.
Yes.
Empathy is caring about what the people you care about care about. And you said it so well, Celeste, that people want to be cared about. They want to be seen. They want to be heard. And more than anything, they want to be cared about and know that they matter. When we stay curious and we ask questions, curiosity is your way to show somebody that you care. Curiosity is the only tool that you have to show somebody that you care about them and that you're not making it just your agenda. So I would say being curious is a great relationship foundational piece, because that's how you're showing the other person that you care about them. And then being able to demonstrate empathy, those things all build that trust, being dependable and being a good listener, right? These are all pieces that's going to make somebody, people buy from people, and they buy from people that they know, like, and trust. Yes. So how do we build that know, like, and trust factor? And ultimately, how do we be that kind of person that someone wants to buy from? We be that kind of person that they want to be around, that they feel good when they're around. And those are the critical ingredients that we can use: curiosity, empathy, trust, courage. I would throw courage in there, the courage to ask some of these challenging questions, right? It's not easy to say, hey, how important is it to you to do something about this? It's not always easy to ask some of these questions. And quite often we're taking somebody to a very vulnerable place when we're discussing certain challenges that they've had, right? Depending on the specific area is that we help people in. So how can we be that person? Well, those are the critical ingredients that you want to use to build relationships. And then, there's some simple things that I would also say are absolutely critical to relationship building. And it's things like using somebody's name when you're talking to them.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of those soft skills that can just be so, it's like when people are like, you want to feel better, drink more water and get more sleep. It's like, yeah, but I want the magic pill. But how do we actually feel better? How do we actually achieve optimal health? We drink more water, we get more sleep, we move our body more. It's the basics, right? Mm-hmm. Same is true in relationship building. Do what you say you're going to do. Listen to the other person. Use their name when you're speaking to them. Make them feel important. Stay curious and ask questions. Show them that you know them by building empathy, by actually relating to them. And then have the courage to care enough about them to ask some of the challenging questions so that you're taking a stand for them, so that you're saying, I really care about you.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. I love how you broke that down. I love that definition of empathy that you shared. That was spot on. And some of the things you said, right? Empathy, being a good listener, being dependable, being a positive influence, staying curious, and being courageous enough to ask those hard questions. Because also, perhaps most people are not getting these questions being asked on. No one cares, right? So showing that care aspect is so powerful. I love that. Love that, Nicole. And based on your experience, my next question is, what do you think are people's biggest blocks around money?
Mm. How much time do we have?
We can have another 10 minutes. Very good. Now let's dive the conversation to more of the money conversation, especially I think for us women. Like for instance, I attended TEDx Nashville last year, and this amazing financial advisor was on stage, and she shared how if it's a group of male having dinners, they're very comfortable talking about their finances, talking about money, how they're doing, their growth. On the other hand, if it's a group of females having dinner, money is rarely the topic of conversation. For men, it's such a comfortable conversation, but for females specifically, it's just not something that perhaps we were even raised with, right? When we were little girls, our parents are not talking to us about money the way they are talking to boys about
Yep.
money. And everybody has a different background, but that's where I kind of want to take the conversation.
Yeah. It tends to be a lot more of a neutral topic with the male gender, and it tends to be more emotionally charged around the female gender. And listen, like you said, everybody's raised differently, everybody's different. So in no way can we make generalizations that necessarily apply to everyone. And that's certainly not gender specific necessarily. But to your point, and to the point that the TEDx speaker made, it does tend to be a much more easily discussed topic amongst men than women. And I would say so many things that have to do with that. I think women have more challenges with worthiness in that area, because naturally what we tend to be are the caretakers, are the ones who are taking care of everyone else in our lives. And we can feel guilty in spending money on ourselves. We can feel irresponsible in doing anything to take care of us when we see our role as being the ones who take care of everyone else in our lives. And that's not just made up in our own head. It's a societal conditioning that we have lived with for a very long time. And I would say now more than ever, we're starting to step out of some of those typical expectations, roles, right? But it's still very much there in a lot of ways. And a few years ago, I was watching the movie On the Basis of Sex. It's the movie about Ruth Bader Ginsburg and her life. And I learned something that I never knew when I was watching that movie, that as recent as the 1970s, women could not have a credit card in their name. I get chills every time I say it. Every time I think about it, it knocked me over. Because that, and when I say as recent as the 70s, I mean, really, that's just 50 years ago. So as recent as 50 years ago, we couldn't even have control of our own money. It's no wonder we have such hesitations and reservations about discussing it. There's still a lot of fear there. So it's not just the worthiness piece. There's a lot going on that we are still stepping out from under as women, that in many ways we're learning what our relationship with money is. We're learning that we can earn it. We can spend it. We can use it. We do have power that we have had all along. We just weren't allowed to recognize it or to utilize it. And I think that there's a newness and a new paradigm here that we're stepping into. And there's a lot of us, like what you're doing, Celeste, with this podcast and highlighting women in the month of March. Like, this is what we need more of. And one of the first things you came and said to me when we connected after I stepped off that stage, you said, we need more women doing what you just did up there. And I 100% agree. And that's why it's one of my biggest honors to be a part of something like this. And I'm so grateful that you've created this platform, because this is how we show other women what's possible for them. And, you know, if we were to go back and tie it all into sales, you sold me on being on your podcast. There was no transaction, but how did you sell me? Because right off the bat, you showed me that you knew me. We had this connection around the idea of empowering women. You saw what
Mhm.
you saw on stage when I was speaking, and you connected with it, and you said, yes, and I want you on my platform because more women need to experience this. So the more we all recognize that and help each other and reach back and go, hey, I want to help you too, the more we all start to see opportunities and step out from underneath some of these limitations that have held us back for a very long time. So yeah, you 100% sold me on the idea of course I would want to, be a part of this. And it's a huge opportunity in so many ways. But that was really the piece that connected for me. And I am all about that. I'm all about empowering women and helping all of us recognize that there are powers and freedoms that we have not been accessing that are about to change the world when we really step into it in a bigger way.
Absolutely. I love that, Nicole. And I'm so glad it worked because it was very genuine anyway. Right. And that's what we're here to do. And even for me, I would say I'm continuously working on my money mindset
Mm-hmm.
and trying to be better. And I have a background in accounting and I was a CPA. I did all of that for the first part of my career. And even in those rooms, even in that industry, it's still more male focused. And for us, there's still that you even see as the career progresses, it seems like male are just taking a little bit more seriously. So we're on that path. I think we have made immense progress, and we're here to continue to lift other women up to get to those spaces. So
Yep.
what do you do, or what did you do when you were starting in your sales industry to make those money conversations smoother with your prospects?
Initially, I cried a lot because
Yeah.
I was so uncomfortable with it. I will be the first to say, like, when I first stepped out of my teaching role and into my corporate sales role, it was very uncomfortable for me to have some of those conversations. And what I learned early on, fortunately, I've had great mentors, I've had great coaches, and I always, always, always believe that readers are leaders. And so I read a lot. I take suggestions of books that I know people, when I see successful people do things, success leaves clues, right? So what books have they read? What activities do they
Yeah.
do? What habits do they have? And one of the things I learned early on from mentors and coaches is developing my wealth consciousness, my
Mm,
consciousness around wealth and what it is and what it means to me is going to be a game changer in my relationship with money. And one of the first things I learned, because again, growing up, what are the stigmas? What are the limiting beliefs that we receive from those around us, right? Loved ones that mean well, that tell us things like, money doesn't grow on trees, or you better marry a rich man because you have expensive taste, or, oh, it must be nice. They have money because they made a good investment a long time ago. And that's why it was always, at least for me, for them, right? Those were the people that had money, and it wasn't me, or money is the root of all evil, right?
yes.
I've heard that. And so
Yep.
not only was it, I wasn't one of them, but also there was this maybe somewhat belief that, am I a bad person if I get money? Because
Mm,
people with money are evil and they do bad things. And since I had this awareness and understanding that wealth consciousness was something that I wanted to increase, and I wanted to mend my relationship with
mm,
money, I've learned different mantras and affirmations, like good people do good shit with money. That's
ooh,
something that I say all the time. Good people do good shit with money. You know what? Who should have the money in this world? Who should have control over it? The good people. Because
yes.
what do good people do with it? They do more good things with the money. So you better believe, not only do we have a
I
right to
love
make
that.
money, but as women especially, we have an obligation to make it, because we will do good shit that will make this world a better place. And sometimes that good shit is going to get myself a massage. Sometimes that good shit is taking friends out to dinner because I want to pay for it for everybody. Sometimes that good shit is funding my SEP IRA because I want to make sure that I'm okay in my retirement. Whatever the good shit is, good people will make good decisions around it and continue to move the world forward and make it a better place. So you better believe that money is not just a thing that we can acquire. It's our tool to make this world a better place. And when you're a good person, you better understand it is your obligation to make more of it, because you will do good things with it for this world.
Woo! Mic drop right there. Yes, 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 yes. Oh, this has to be a clip for social media because that was so powerful. Absolutely. I love that. And I love that mindset shift because oftentimes it's the good people that are more scared to ask for it. And we're the ones that should be going for that. But again, going back to your mindset regarding sales, that sales is serving. As long as you're doing something good and you're providing benefit, don't be ashamed of that. Those were such amazing tips. And also, what I would encourage our females and males, whoever's listening, is what Nicole said. Surround yourself with people who are having these conversations, and those who you see who are successful. What are their habits? What are they doing? Thank you, Nicole, for being vulnerable about that. Initially, in those money conversations, maybe you cried a few times because I know that also initially it would make me so uncomfortable. I leave that to be the last thing as part of the conversation and continuously gaining that courage and that acceptance of, hey, this is okay to talk about. Like, people are telling me things all day long and talking about their prices. So that's okay. This is probably a never ending continuous work we all have to do and put in to be better. But thank you for sharing so much light to that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you for asking the wonderful questions that bring out. I mean, this is a conversation that, as we've said, needs to be continued to have in a bigger way with ourselves and with others. And the more we normalize it, woman to woman, having conversations around money, the more that it becomes a thing that other women have permission to do themselves, right? It's like we are walking permission slips at all times, no matter what we're doing in our lives. And if we can recognize that having these conversations with one another and normalizing that it's okay, it's not just okay, it's important to talk about money, then that's exactly what we're doing. We're giving others permission in a bigger way and saying, this is going to move us all forward when we are willing to be vulnerable and open and share and grow together.
absolutely. Love that. And Nicole, I know that you do coaching. So obviously anybody listening, if you want to take the skill to the next level and in your sales process, your money mindset, Nicole is a resource for you. And on top of that, Nicole, do you have any other suggestions or recommendations, maybe in terms of books or tools or habits that people can use?
Yeah, gosh, I have so many books. I would say some of the game changers for me that really started to make a difference, especially around the topic of money. There's a book called You're a Badass at Making Money.
Oh, yeah.
And there's some other really great money books that I can recommend, but that one for me was a great gateway to getting into some of the wealth consciousness and money discussions because it's funny and it's very, I don't know if I want to say normal, but the way that she writes, it's like you're reading from a girlfriend, right? Like it talks like normal, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah.
say that because one of my other favorite books is The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace
Oh,
Wattles. And
okay.
it's a little tougher to read, but it is incredible. And again, these are books that will increase your ability to sell because it will be expanding your wealth consciousness. And
Love
when we
that.
understand that money is the tool to make this world a better place, and when we are receiving money from others for a service or a product that we've sold, it's because the exchange was for both of us. It's not like, because I have clients that come to me a lot and they're like, I don't want to take anybody's money. I'm like, ew, I don't either. Why would you do that? And they're like, well, in order to sell them something, I have to take their money. I'm like, what are they getting? Are they getting shit on a stick, or are they getting an experience or a product that's going to expand and improve their life? Because when we understand what the exchange actually is, then we recognize money is their energetic exchange for what they are receiving on their end. And these books are one of the ways that I really started
I
to
love that.
deepen into that, right? So those are two great ones. Two more that I think are phenomenal. Rich as Fuck by Amanda Francis. Absolutely highly recommended. It's wonderful. And then there's one by Marianne Williamson called The Law of Divine Compensation. And all four of those are incredible. I've actually reread each of them multiple times.
Oh, that's amazing. I have not read any of those books, so that's a suggestion to me as well to go
There you
and
go.
pick up one of them.
All
That's
female
so
authors
cool.
except for one. Also
Yes, I
important
love
to
that.
note. Yes.
Amazing, amazing. Fun fact is I will be starting a book club called Sip and Book here in Nashville because I want to attract more females that read and do that fun stuff. So for those listening, I'll be launching that soon enough.
Amazing.
So thank you, Nicole, for that, because I think I will definitely have one of these books as a book of the month suggestion.
There you go. Awesome.
Wonderful. Well, Nicole, thank you so much. This has been a fire conversation. And to end my podcast interviews, I always like to ask the question, what does success mean to you? Because I know for a fact how you viewed success 10 years ago is not how you viewed it today. So what does it look like for you now?
Honestly, it almost brought tears to my eyes when you just asked the question, because it really hit me, especially on the heels of us talking about money, right? I would have defined success very differently even just a few years ago, and it would have had 100% to do with money. And the amount of money I made, the things that I had in my life, had or didn't have, right, would have been on my definition of success. And you know what I learned, Tony Robbins shared this once, and it really made a big impression on me. He said, money is just a bunch of pieces of paper with dead presidents on it. Nobody wants money. They want what the money will do for them. And so in no way am I saying that I don't want to make money or I don't love, I love money, because money is the tool that helps me make this world a better place. And one of the ways I make the world a better place is by making myself a better person. We lead by example. And so my definition of success has a lot to do with how much am I, time-wise, dedicating my life to the people and the experiences that are important to me. And money is one of the best ways for me to be able to do that, because when we don't have money, we're naturally self-obsessed. When we do have money, what do? We don't just help ourselves, we help more people. And we give ourselves, money buys us time. Money buys us back time. And so to me, my definition of success is how much of my day can I dedicate to the people that I love, the experiences that I love, so that I'm living my life in a way that really is fulfilling. Because I believe that's how we really show up and lead the world, is by being full of ourselves. Truly. And we can't get rich enough, or I'm sorry, we can't get poor enough to help poor people. We can't get hungry enough to help hungry people. We can't get tired enough to help tired people. There's nothing we can do to diminish ourselves that actually helps anybody. So if we are focused on making ourselves the best versions of ourselves we can be, then to me, that's the definition of success.
I love that. I love that so much, Nicole. Thank you for sharing that, because I think everything you've said in the podcast hopefully expands those listening and their mindset. And I love that you said, it's not that I don't want to make money, right? I love money, but it's about what having money allows me to do because I have it. And then how you show up in the world and lead by example. So beautiful. Woo.
Yeah.
Amazing. Any last words of wisdom that you would like to share with the audience today?
There is no happily ever after. It's happily here and now. That's it. This is the only time we got. This is the most important time, because this is the only time. And I get we can plan for the future. I get we can look at things. We can look into, because God willing, we will have long, healthy, quality lives. But ultimately, don't wait, because there is no happily ever after. It really is happily here and now. So make sure that you understand that, and you're demonstrating that by how you show up in your life.
Amazing, amazing advice. Well, thank you so much, Nicole, for being here today. It has been such an amazing pleasure.
Thank you so much. I loved it.
Absolutely. Until next time, my friends.
You have just finished listening to this episode, and I hope you're feeling inspired, enlightened, and ready to take the next step to accomplish your goals. Make sure to check out the show notes for any information shared. And if this message impacted you, please share this wisdom with at least one person you care about, and let's grow this movement across the globe. Always remember that the light to success is you, my friend. Until next time.